I wanna see the finer things in life, the bright spotlights, bodies moving at the same time. And I wanna know if you practiced slowly, in it for the money or the feeling holy. Take me to the theater, take me to the theater, take me to the theater. I wanna know you better than before.
Welcome back to Notes on Stage. I'm your host, Louis DeFelice.
And I'm Skylar Brandt.
Great. Well, I'm very excited to have you on, to be meeting you sort of officially, quote unquote, for the first time. So actually, let's go. So we've taken class together at Steps, which is like sort of the main New York place, obviously, that people go. What do you like? I know you take Maxime's class. What do you like about it?
Mm-hmm.
What does it give you that helps you?
Well, it's very challenging, so I feel warm by the end of it, which is great. But, you know, he's also my full-time coach, so all of his information is useful to me. And even though I've heard everything a million times, it never hurts to hear it again.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, he's very funny.
He is. I agree.
Yeah.
And I like the Mickey Mouse t-shirts.
Yes, yeah. And his other t-shirts that are very sarcastic, and
yeah.
I think he makes them. His daughter Emma makes them for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why Bar Trash. We ought to tune in to make him a shirt. I think I owe him for the several years of his classes I've taken. Yeah, I find that his class is very like placed. Maybe is the word that comes to mind, but it's square in the right ways. It gets my body organized. I guess I would say.
Yeah, and I think also, for as funny as he is, he's also has a tone of seriousness, I think, in his class. So it makes you approach the work in a serious way, too, which I think is valuable, even just to put me in the right headspace myself, because I can sometimes feel a little bit lazier on a certain day to take class or more motivated. I think he forces me to be more motivated.
Yeah. I think you probably have a lot more than that would come to my mind, but he's got some quotes that he loves to use. Like one is like, I think he says, there's no flexed feet in this combination.
Oh, yes. That's a great one.
It's like a Maxime classic.
If you're looking at the floor, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Or if your ankles, or no, what? If your foot is facing the floor, it's wrong? Or your something else about turnout. I don't know.
Yeah. He's got these little like quips. He also does something where he calls ton leve, just leve. He'll be like leve. And I've never heard that outside of his class. Like he'd be like jete, leve.
Oh, yes,
and I'm like, huh.
So true.
I don't know if that's a him thing or like a Russian thing. Or
I remember another teacher of mine used to say, instead of tour jete, he used to say true jete.
True jete. And I always got a kick out of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, those little things. I had a friend, or have a sort of a buddy at Paris Opera, and I can't keep it straight now, but was explained, like they really do use different terminology, but one, like I don't think they say tendu. I think they say
dégage or something.
Yeah, I think maybe dégagé is tendu, dégagé is jeté.
Uh-huh.
And maybe they just don't say tendu. And then I also know instead of plié, they often just say fondu.
Oh,
like even later, they'll say fondu.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What was your, I guess I could ask you about your training.
Oh, yeah. So I started at my local dance studio in Westchester, New York. Okay. It was called Scarsdale Ballet Studio. But I got really lucky because the teachers there were great. There was one teacher, her name was Diana White. She was a co-owner of the studio with her then husband. And she was a soloist at New York City Ballet in the time of Balanchine. And I'm pretty sure she would have gotten promoted if he hadn't passed away. So it was amazing to have worked with her, kind of like first thing. Same with her husband at the time, Christian Claessens. He was from Belgium. And then there was another teacher by the name of Valentina Kozlova.
Yeah, okay.
Who a lot of people might know, Vaganova trained. So I kind of had like a little bit of everything.
A mixture.
Yeah,
you had somebody who was very Balanchine. And Kozlova, I guess I would say, is very Vaganova.
Yeah, very Vaganova. So I was, and they were all the real deal. So it kind of helped my foundational training to be really strong. And then I think I always loved kind of Russian ballet because I would go watch ABT when I was a kid because I'm from New York. So we'd like go into the city and
when you were watching ABT, was Brishnikov the director or is it still, or is it later than that?
No, it was later than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but all my favorite dancers were, it was like Nina Anishvili and of course Irina and Max. I mean, I loved.
You were watching Irina and Max.
Yeah,
from the audience.
Really great. I have an old photo with them backstage. I was in a full Disney princess costume. They had just finished Don Q, and I have a photo with them and their mom, Olga, who then later in life became my character teacher. So it's just really full circle there.
How'd you get back there?
Because I know that's
how'd they let you back there with your Disney costume?
Because I was just so adorable. No, because we knew people who were involved and who like had access to going backstage, who either knew the artists or were like some sort of donors or sponsors. So it was like people who knew I wanted to be a ballerina, and they were like, "Come, let's go get signed pointies," and I'd be like, so excited. So I started at Skylar Ballet Studio, and then I was taking private lessons solely from Valentina Kozlova, and she ended up opening her own studio in the city. So I sort of followed her into the city. I'd commute every day with my mom. And then...
How'd you commute? By car or by train?
By car.
Okay.
She'd drive me back and forth. And then I ended up joining the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis School at American Ballet Theatre, which... At that time, it only had one level, like the advanced level. And then the year that I joined was the year that they opened basically an intermediate level. And it's also the year that Franco De Vita took over the school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I auditioned for him way back.
Okay, yeah.
I guess it would have been for the school.
Yeah.
I remember
so like his first year was my first year as well. And I was still always taking private lessons on the side. In fact, there was even a year that I was not going to any school. I was only taking privates. And I took privates with literally everyone. I was taking privates with Ava Edvokimova, Willie Berman, David Howard, Gelsey Kirkland, Finest Young, who else? Fabrice Harol, just everyone. And
Susan Jaffe, I think.
Susan Jaffe also, as well. Yeah. I had taken some privates with her when I kind of was later in my teens, maybe like around 15 or 16.
Is it notable at all to you that now she's your director?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't have that many lessons with her, and honestly, I feel like her information. I mean, she's great. She's great with everyone, but like it was almost more nuanced. So for me as like a 15-year-old, I don't know. It's like a totally different experience now working with her as a professional because I really, really understand where she's coming from and what she has to give, whereas I think I was still probably struggling with even just technical stuff. I mean, she'll even say it. She's like, I can help really well with artistic stuff. And she's like, technical stuff, all you kids, you got it already kind of thing. So that's more her, I guess, her forte or her thing that she really likes to do is to coach the artistic side of something. So so I took lessons with everyone. Sometimes it was one lesson and then I would be like, okay, I'm not going to do that one again. Or sometimes it was multiple ones, or I'd stick with the same teacher. Like I had Fabrice Harol for a few years. And then, I joined ABT school and continued to train privately through that time, and then joined ABT2 and then the company, and that's it.
Was it a studio company? Did that name come later? It was ABT2.
It came
prior?
later.
Okay.
It was ABT2, which
so you weren't there calling it Stuco.
No, I wasn't. And I kind of liked. I don't know why it changed or like why the name matters so much, honestly. But for me, I liked that it was ABT2 because I feel like every other ballet company's junior company is something too. It could be like Houston Ballet 2 or Ailey 2 or Boston Ballet 2. It feels
Yeah. NDT does
NDT 2. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, actually, I think it doesn't really matter, but I think I would be on your side of that and prefer the ABT2. I think that when I auditioned for that, that's what it was called, because I sort of remember that being the big.
Do you remember who was the director at the time when you auditioned?
I could place you in time, which would be about exactly 10 years ago. Aaron Bell was in it at the time because I remember he stood next to me at bar during my audition.
Okay, then it probably
Might have
wasn't
been.
West. I had Wes Chapman.
No.
You maybe.
Franco, no? Or is that wrong?
No, I don't think he ever did it. Could it have been Kate Lyden? No. I don't. I can't
It might have
remember.
been, actually. No, because I think I really felt like it was a man.
Okay.
But then I
Clinton
met...
was also, Clinton Leckett was also.
Because then I remember I had a meeting, though, with a woman after. Like, like when they took me out later in the office, it was like...
It was
It was a woman.
female.
Maybe it was Kate. I don't know. I'm going to bore our poor listener to tears if I stay on that. So I'm curious about a lot of things. Let me jump way far away though. The videos with your sister. I don't really have a big question, but I fucking love them. I love them so much.
Thanks.
They're just perfect.
You know,
if people don't know what I'm referring to, I'll describe it for you so that I can be flowery with it. But what's your sister's name?
yeah, her name is Taylor.
Taylor. So you and your sister Taylor don these insane like unitards basically, or other costumes. Sometimes there's like they have a belly. Sometimes they like at one point one of you is pregnant in it.
Yeah.
Not one of you. It's Taylor, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you do these like semi off-putting, but then also like very impressive like synchronized dances with each other in like an empty, strange room in a house. And I everyone that I've seen, I've probably watched 4 times in a row on the spot.
Thank you for that. Yeah. I love that you. Like, honestly, half the time people come up to me on the street, they're like, "Oh, I'm a fan of your work." And then the other half the time, they're like, "I love your videos with your sister." I swear to God, like most people, I think, recognize me from those videos.
And I think also because we can tell, and I have this because I obviously make content for social media myself. But I think you can tell that they're sincere. I mean, obviously you've practiced, you've put it on. Like, it's not improvised necessarily, but it is sincere in the sense of like you're not trying to be. It's not the latest song. It's not sexy. It's not the TikTok dance trend thing. Like it's its own thing that it's clear that you both enjoy doing. So I think people probably respond to that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're like totally weird anyway in life. Like we would like dance around the kitchen like that anyway. So once it was really the pandemic that we were actually sequestering together, and so quarantining.
Yeah.
And so we were obviously bored, and we were like, oh, should we join the TikTok thing? Oh my God, we're too old for that. And then we just did it, and then it was fun.
What does your sister do?
So she danced a little bit growing up. She was like plenty talented.
I know they're silly videos, but I'm also like, she seems talented.
She is talented. And the most insane thing is that she doesn't work out, like literally nothing. And she's like a perfect ballerina body. Wow. And she does nothing for it. She's got 2 kids. And that's the other amazing thing is like, these videos are from 2 kids later.
And she's pregnant with one of the kids in some of the videos. I feel like I've seen her.
Yep, you're correct.
I'm like giving away my hand about how much of these I've watched, but I've definitely just watched them. Like, and then they come back around, you just watch them again,
Exactly, yeah. So she's, she was a very talented dancer, and then she was also a really talented athlete, and she's ended up pursuing photography, and so she had a lot of options as a kid. So she sort of did a little bit of everything as opposed to pursuing just dance, which is what I did and what my oldest sister did.
Oh, really?
And my oldest sister was a professional hip-hop dancer for the Knicks basketball team.
You are kidding.
Yeah, so she made it to the top of the hip-hop career.
Like halftime for the Knicks,
yes.
like she goes on the
court. Like
and...
we'd go watch her performances at Madison Square Garden. That would be like her show.
And so she's performing, not for nothing, to way bigger audiences than you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, packed, yeah.
By some exponential numbers, yeah.
Correct, yeah. So she was, like, incredible hip-hop dancer. And funny thing, she actually hated every ballet class she ever took. She would play hooky and whatever. And her feet, talk about bad feet. I think I have bad feet. Her feet were, like, so bad that her teacher at the time when she had point class would say, "Hey, ski boots, go do échappés in the corner."
Ski boots?
Yeah.
I've not heard that one.
Her feet just looked like they were like locked in on a ski. So yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Bar Trash. Do you wear clothes? Do you have money? Do you dance? And even if you don't, you could take some of that money and invested in wearing clothes made by the company Bar Trash. That way you would have something to wear and they would have extra money. Okay, ski boots. And she's not doing hip hop anymore.
She doesn't do she does it for exercise sometimes, but she ended up moving out to California to pursue acting, and then she ended up becoming a voiceover artist.
No way.
So she'll like dub foreign films in English, or she'll do something where she like describes a scene for people who are blind, so that they know what's happening in a movie, which is kind of cool. And actually, definitely an art form. Seems really tricky when she explains it to me. It's like she needs to, obviously, a sentence in one language is going to be a different length than the sentence in English, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, and she has to somehow fit it in the right time of the person's mouth moving, and also somehow make the same sound as that as the actor's shape of the mouth, let's say. So if it's an O, she has to somehow fit it in a certain way, and then also have the emotion behind it. So she's like acting from inside a sound booth, and trying to put English to a different language.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very interesting job.
Yeah.
I had a professor who I took a creative writing course, and he he was a writer too, but he would do translated stuff like as writing, and he said that he would buy 25% more printer paper when he did that to write in Spanish, because Spanish takes about 25% more words. And I thought that was super interesting. And he was like, I know this down. Like he's like, I know my work so well, and the averages so well, that when I go to print like a big thing that I've translated, I buy 25% more printer paper for Spanish.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's just funny to think about, like, and I know, for example, like in some languages too, they put, like in German, they put the, I think it's the noun that goes way at the end of the sentence. And I listened to an interview with a comedian who does his act also in German because he's bilingual. And he was talking about how
the punchline
is in a different place in the sentence. And if it's earlier, that's no good.
Yeah.
The punchline has to be a surprise,
Wow.
So anyway, just sort of funny.
Love that.
Do you speak any other languages?
I studied French and Spanish in school.
Okay.
And then I'm currently studying Russian because my fiance is Russian. So,
Right.
Which is
Russian's very hard. I speak a little bit, but it's a monster though.
Yeah, I feel like once you get over the hurdle of just even learning the alphabet, then you can begin to actually try to learn some words. But they're long. Talk about long. The sounds, Fortunately, I can roll my R's. So
very good. Are you? I'll do a few questions on this then. Which is, are you over the hurdle of the alphabet?
I'm over the hurdle of the alphabet. Yes.
My teacher's wife. My teacher was Russian. And his wife Tatiana gifted me a child's sort of plastic sheet that was electronic, and it had all the letters, and you would press them, and a little speaker would make the sound. And so when I was like a teenager, I had this like device that was like a toy for a 3-year-old, like a Russian 3-year-old, and that's how I learned the alphabet.
But that's good though. I mean, we all start out as 3-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean,
essentially.
I knew about as much or less than a 3-year-old,
yeah.
So it was a good device. But yeah, I mean, how is your E sound?
Yeah, well, that was really good. That's the one thing when I speak to my fiance, we always say T, and he's always like, no, T, and I'm like T, and he's like, no, T. Like that's the hardest thing. Meanwhile, I'm like also coming from a background where I've learned Spanish, so it's T.
Like, T. And he's like T.
Yeah,
it's deep, and that's interesting. And how's his English?
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
It's I mean, he still has a thick Russian accent, which I love. And he recently had gotten an app that is supposed to sort of get rid of your accent. I was like, please, no, it's so good. I mean, it's so thick. I don't think it's ever going to go away, but his vocabulary is amazing.
Good.
And he knows certain English sayings that are so funny and adorable when he says them. He'll be like, you're pulling my leg. And I'm like, I just love that you know that.
Yeah. Clara, my girlfriend's Spanish, and Spanish is her first language. And she'll have these like phrases that it's clear she's learned from TikTok. So like she says, I know ball, which is a phrase that's about 3 months old.
I was gonna say, I don't know what that is.
If you're like, you haven't learned it. Yeah. But I think it's like it's kind of like I know what I'm doing. Like I've got game basically, but you can
ball.
apply.
Oh.
I know ball. Like
Okay,
I know like
okay.
basketball. Yeah, but you can apply it to kind of like whatever. So like if a guy's like, let's say your girlfriend has a headache and you're like got a glass of water right away, like the boyfriend might say, I know ball. Like I know I got the skills or whatever. But I certainly don't use that. I'm also not 19 and neither is my partner. But she picks up these things from TikTok basically.
The one thing that we do have been saying lately is
Oh,
so
wow.
loving that. And when he does it, it's even better. Like we always cackle like that.
Dude,
when we say it.
I can imagine how endearing him.
My dad says it.
Oh my God.
We're like, we just went on a vacation all together as a family, and we were just all the time. It was really ridiculous.
There is something very, very endearing about speaking to someone when they're doing their best with their accent, and it's I have that, of course. So yeah, well, that's a perfect time then to segue into it. So you're recently engaged.
Yes.
What's your husband's name? Or excuse me, your fiance's name?
Vladimir. Yeah.
And so I guess how long were you together before you got engaged?
Just a year.
And how'd you meet?
Crazy enough, we met at ABT like 5 years ago.
Wow.
He came to play for rehearsals. He was way overqualified to be just a rehearsal pianist, but because he had also, he's studied in Moscow, went to like Moscow Conservatory, and then he would play as a soloist for like Mariinsky. He would tour with them.
Oh my God.
Played like Marguerite and Armand for Diana Vishneva and Lopatkina and like.
Oh, he's a true Russian ballet pianist.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
and more like played with Georgiev and
Wow.
he's super accomplished. So and then he came here. His family had come here. His sister, his mom. He came here for school because the idea was he'd have more opportunities to concertize and going to school. Unfortunately, here it's like you need to have certain degrees, even just to be taken seriously, even though it has nothing necessarily to do with a person's skill level.
I bristle at that because you're saying this is a pianist who's played under the conductor of the Bolshoi Georgiev. It's like, come on, man. What would
he need to prove? But that's obviously the way it works here. So anyway, he came to ABT, I think with the hopes of being able to perform with us as well in the same way that he did for Mariinsky.
Like playing on stage,
and for performances, and just as as with anything else, there's was a certain hierarchy amongst the musicians. So I think he would have had to have waited a really long time to actually get the opportunity to perform. And then obviously ABT's rehearsal schedule was super grueling. It was 12 to 7 at night, and the pianists are playing the whole day, all different kinds of rep. One of Vladimir's superpowers is sight reading. So it was crazy. I remember we were doing Romeo and Juliet, and he just hearing him play the March of the Knights was just blew you back. To have that quality of sound and artistry just for a rehearsal made all the dancers were like, who is this guy? All of us were blown away, boys, girls, and then he was so, he was so charming and just respectful. He's kind of that old world kind of gentleman. My mom always laughs. She says to me, it's so, I don't know if it's conscious or unconscious, but every time he meets someone new, he puts his hands behind his back to, he I don't know, he just looks like he should be wearing tails throughout his daily life. But anyway, he was actually in a relationship and I was in a relationship and nothing. Everybody was just oh, we love this guy. He's great. And then he left soon thereafter. And also it was the pandemic. So we were kind of oh, we're so sad to see you go. But also you should definitely go because you're way overqualified to be here. And then basically 5 years later, I was no longer in a relationship. And I heard from a mutual pianist friend that he was no longer in a relationship. So I was I got really excited, and then I reached out to him. And
you reached out to him?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was I'm going to do,
What'd you say?
Well, so back when he played at ABT, my mom's the kind of person, she's super generous. Like she'll get, if there's something really amazing that's a performance happening like at the Phil or on Broadway or at the Joyce, like a dance performance or anything like that, she'll get like extra tickets and she'll be like, invite your friends. And so I remember for some concerts at the New York Phil, she'd get extra tickets. And so I'd invite Vladimir and his partner at the time. Actually, she never came to the performances, but she was always invited, plus another pianist friend, plus another dancer in the company who I knew appreciated classical music. And so it'd be like me and my mom sitting here, and then another few friends sitting here, and maybe like another friend sitting here. We were just, and that's the only way that we hung out outside of the studio. And we didn't really get to know each other that way because we were obviously like sitting in a performance and you're not going to talk.
Side by side, looking forward silently.
Yes, but I would always extend that invitation to him because I knew he'd love to go to a concert. And actually, I remember one time I had pre-theater dinner with my mom, him, and another company member friend. And I remember when we were walking away from the evening, my mom, because I don't really talk to my mom about like my dating life. It's kind of the one thing it's more private to me. I have sisters for that. And I remember her saying something to me like, oh, isn't he just so lovely? And without thinking, I was like, oh, yeah, I'd totally be trying to date him if he wasn't already in a relationship. And I think she was like really kind of taken aback that I expressed any kind of interest at all in someone. But she like tried to play it cool. And she was like, well, I really like to know that that's the kind of person that you could see yourself with. And then it's like 5 years later and we're engaged. But when I reached out to him, I had an extra ticket to the Philharmonic. So it was like, I reached out to him like a friend, how I would have.
Like you would have normally.
Because I just wasn't sure at what stage in his life he was at and if he was open or not, And so I kind of was like I was like, so how's everything? Because afterward we went out for like a little bite. And
during the show, did you do the sort of like the yawn?
I should have, but
Vladimir.
Do
you call him Vladimir or Volodya? Or?
Actually, call him Vova.
Which is a more unusual one then.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because obviously everyone here in the States call him Vlad, which is really the nickname for
not Vladimir.
Not Vladimir, which is for like Vladislav, I think, or something like this.
Yeah,
it's something else. I should know
Vladimir,
this.
I think is Volodya usually.
It's Volodya, and it's also Vova.
This episode is brought to you by Bar Trash. Bar Trash, we try to be a little bit different when we have a big sale. A lot of brands, they have a big sale and they say things like up to 50% off. But then actually everything's 20% off except for one little thing that you didn't want anyway. Or they say, oh, this is going to expire on Monday, and on Tuesday they say, oh, we've extended it. And what all this means is at the end of the day, you don't really trust these companies and what they say. Or they say, oh, it's used to be 29, now it's 20, but actually it used to be just 24. So we don't do any tricks. That's not our MO. We just try to be sincere with you. So the deal is real. The percentage off is real. When we say it ends on Monday, it really ends on Monday. We hope that makes you trust us a little bit more. And it's important to us that we run a company where people, don't think we're lying all the time. So if that interests you, check out Bar Trash, bartrash.com. And does he call you Skylar, or does he look for a diminutive?
He says like Skyushka, or I don't know, or Sky, Sky.
And not Mrs. Brandt. He doesn't.
Not
Miss. Because you imagine him in tails. I imagine him formal at all.
Right. Exactly.
Good morning, Mrs. Brandt.
Yeah, no.
That's very endearing. And you, I love hearing you describe that. You paint a lovely picture. It sounds like a lovely guy.
He's great.
Your engagement announcement, or not announcement, but the sort of your celebration of engagement party is you dancing. Where was this, by the way?
Yeah, this was at Merkin Hall at the Kaufman Center, which is
okay.
Yeah.
So he's playing live and you're dancing.
Yes. Yeah, we had done our first concert together back in June because he's really incredible, like super accomplished, the real deal. The only thing is he's not American, so he doesn't have that like hustle mentality. So for me, I was like, you're so unbelievable. People just need to know that you exist. Not that he doesn't have work all the time, because he does, but I'm like, you should be on stage at Carnegie Hall more, because you're amazing, genuinely amazing. So, I decided to create a program for the two of us where he would play mostly actually ballet music, and then I could dance a few solos to his playing. And of course, a lot of the audience was a dance audience, but then there was also a music audience as well. And so we did that in June, and it sold out, which was amazing for us.
I would have loved to have come.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, I hope we'll do it again. And then we just did our second one in November. And I have this idea.
And that one functioned as your engagement.
Yeah,
party.
it was like,
that was how it was billed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the first one was called That's How We Met, because it was just kind of the story of how we met each other. And then I was like, oh, well, since then there's been a development. So then it was That's How We Met the engagement. And so obviously we need to do it. That's How We Met the wedding.
Yeah, I think so.
And
the trilogy.
Yeah, the trilogy. And so I was like, oh, it would be so cool to have, I don't know, to have a concert, like a little, again, short concert, because they're, whatever, an hour with no intermission, but maybe even less long. And then an intermission, which could be like cocktail hour for the guests. And then everybody can come back in the audience and maybe watch us get married on stage.
Oh, my God.
Which would be so cool.
Yeah.
But, I think it would be amazing to do it at a bigger venue like a Carnegie Hall or Alice Tully Hall. But those venues are obviously so expensive. And even though
because you have to back it, you rent it basically, but then you have to back it up. You get the money back by selling tickets. So that's
hopefully
sort of how it works, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That would be the hope. It's like American Hall is about 500 seats. But if you're going to go, I'm like, well.
What's Joyce?
Joyce is like 1,000 something, yeah.
Okay.
Like maybe 1,000.
And then Lincoln Center where you perform or Coke or whatever is 3,000.
Yeah, something like that. Same with the Met, maybe closer to 4th, or maybe that's like 3,500 or something. And then Alice Tully is about, I think, 1,100. And then
I bet you could. I bet you could do that.
Oh, I don't know. It would be so cool. It's such a huge risk, because also the thing that makes these venues so insanely expensive is the union. It's like maybe the cost for renting the hall, it could be like $20,000, but then the union fees bring it up to like $80,000 just for.
Because they require the X minimum of employees and
oh my God, yeah, the ushers and
this
the
and that,
then you go into hours and rehearsals, and it's just like would be insane. But I think it would be so epic. I just don't know if it's going to be feasible. Like, it would just be a huge risk to be like, okay, let's invest all this money to hope that people want to come to our wedding.
Yeah. One thing this is. I'm not certainly not giving you advice or anything, but you're just
please.
You're just
I ask everyone.
Oh, really? Well, you're just reminding me of something that was an early success with Bar Trash, which is now this runaway train that I'm like
can't keep up with it
a little bit, yeah.
Great.
But when the first hint of that like runaway train feeling was when we put out like a particular item that was popular, but we pre-sold it. But actually we had already bought it. We had faith in it, so we had ordered it from the factory. But it was going to be, let's say, like 60 days for production and shipping it to us.
Yeah.
And I don't remember why we did this exactly. I don't know if we wanted the money or ahead of time we wanted to gauge interest, but we basically called it a pre-sale.
Yeah.
And it sold, this astounding number of sales, basically, of people who were okay waiting a month or two to get it.
Yeah.
And since then, we don't always do that, and maybe haven't done it in a while. But like the pre-sale seems to really like scratch this itch for people, and it does us well because we can gauge demand and interest and stuff. But
True.
then I think the other side, they seem to like it. They seem to like investing in you.
Yeah.
And there's some, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something psychological to the customer liking is pre-selling in advance, because they're sacrificing, right? They're saying, I'll give you the money, but I'm going to wait for the product.
Sure.
They're taking this little risk, and I think they like it on some level, joining in with you on the risk taking. And anyway, just you saying that makes me think like, oh, pre-sell the tickets, and then you kind of know the demand before you go to the theater. But anyway, I don't know.
When I do talk to people, they're like, "Oh my God, let me know, I'll come."
Yeah.
But I'm like, "Will you actually buy a ticket?" I mean, I don't know. I think it's cool.
The will you actually is. If you've ever hosted a party, that's that's what it all comes down to, is like
True.
the will you actually. Because people tell you, I mean, people tell us that with Bar Trash all the time. People love to give us like, if you have one of these, tell me, but they always have like a product idea that we should make. And I'm always kind of like, A, would you want it to exist, but would you really buy it? And B, would anyone else really buy it? And those are like the big questions.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to
say that.
One thing to say it.
It's easy to
have
say
a drink with somebody and they're like, oh, you know what I want is this. But like, if that person would really type in the website, click it, click pay.
You're like, I'm going to look for your name on, on the invoicing.
Yeah.
Because.
Okay, so I mean, I love the wedding idea, the onstage dance wedding, and
yeah. I mean, then my mom's like, "Do you really want to work on your wedding?" She's like, "You're crazy," and Vladimir's like, "You're crazy." But now Vladimir is like, I think, really invested in the idea because we ended up looking into this, and I was like, I think it might be cost prohibitive. Like, would you still want to? If it's not on a huge grand stage, would you still want to do it if it were on a lesser stage? And he was like, I mean, whatever you want, but he's like, but I would. I'm like, okay, I guess, maybe we'll look into all the options.
I mean, there's a handful of American ballerinas that have a sort of, following that exceeds ballet. And I certainly feel like you're one of that handful. Like, I feel like you've reached people who aren't taking classes and their daughter's not taking classes. Like, they're not a ballet dancer. I feel like you're one of the handful of people that I would not say a household name. Like, I don't think any dancer really gets to be a household name anymore. Like, I don't think there's really a Baryshnikov household name.
Yeah.
But there are certainly people who come to ABT on the night that you're performing and they're not dancers. And you've done the social. I mean, tell me about that too, because not all dancers are on social media in a sort of meaningful or competent way. You're definitely on there. You're viral. I hate these words, but you're viral. Like, what? How has that affected your career?
Yeah, I think it was never my like intention to be like, okay, I'm gonna come up with a plan to grow my social media. But I think again, over the pandemic, there was nothing to do but be inside and be online. So then I was like, oh, I naturally had more time to post, and then I was like, oh, things are seemingly popular, or I don't know, eyeballs on it, and also I think for me, my social media, it's like the perfect balance because I'm oftentimes videoing my rehearsals anyway, so I can go home and review them. So if there's something that like feels worthwhile to post, or like a good thing that I did, or even a bad thing that I did, like if I fell down and I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny, then I can post it. But it's not often that I'm carving out separate time to post on, like to film stuff for like content for social media, because it is extremely time consuming. Like, you would know it's whole other job. So I think I only do that when I'm promoting a product or there's some sort of brand deal where I'm actually getting paid to post for a company. But otherwise, all of my posts are things that are happening genuinely in my rehearsal day or my life. That is easy enough to like throw up there.
That's how it started with me, is people, because I like you, I use filming as a way to coach myself later and get on the train and watch it back and sort of, or in the next morning, figure out what's to change. A lot of dancers hate filming themselves.
Oh, it's the worst.
Oh, you hate it too?
Yeah. Well,
okay. But you do.
I don't hate doing it, but I don't love watching it. But it's so necessary to watch it.
I do agree that it's necessary. One thing that I do is if it's bad and I'm not going to learn much from how bad it is, I delete it right away and then I go empty the trash. So I can't watch it. Because I will watch it and I will really beat myself up. Yeah.
Well, and that's good because then you kind of keep your storage open for the stuff.
It's also a great way to manage hard drive space. But I'll do that because some clips you go, not bad. Here's what I'm going to work on. And that's a great spot to be in. I love not bad. I love saying it's better. Like those are good territories for me. Not bad and getting better. I try to keep it in there. If I look at it and I go, it's embarrassing, I fucked up, it's so bad, then I get those videos way out of there. And then if the video is really, really good, I don't go play that one on loop either because it's not really representative.
Accurate,
So I try to stay in that window.
I think that's makes so much sense. I actually just read a book called Atomic Habits.
That rings a bell. I feel like, is this a new book?
I don't think it's new, but it's super popular and it's all about.
Oh, I might have seen this on your story.
Yes,
that might be why it rings a bell.
I just posted about it.
I think it might be that. Okay.
Yeah, and it's excellent. And it's all about how to like create good habits and break bad habits. But they were talking one of the final chapter talks about how it should be excellent at anything, and to be able to repeat something so often, such as, let's say, like doing pliés and tendus or your morning class, you have to be able to fall in love with boredom. And also, when you get good at something, you need to not be complacent. You have to constantly be challenging yourself, and it's hard to know when you're stuck if you don't take, let's say, inventory of your current progress. So, like, we need to always be not questioning ourselves, but taking stock of like what we can do better, because it's easy to, once you get good at something, to keep practicing and kind of remain at the same level.
And even to relax a little too much.
Or relax a little bit too much. And then actually there are certain things that slip up, and then you actually end up declining without even noticing it because it's in small enough increments that you can't recognize it. But what the author did say, which is like exactly what you just talked about, is that in order to get better, you need to challenge yourself, but you need to do it in such a way that the challenge is not so easy that it's boring, but also not so hard that you're discouraged and you kind of give up. You need to like find that fine balance of something that's going to still make you like feel good about your work and what you're doing, but also make you hungry to keep pushing yourself. So there is, I think, something to be said for almost like demanding too much of yourself, or looking at that one footage, which I think I spend too much time on like the worst pieces of my rehearsal. Because then you really feel crappy, and then you're like, ugh, I'm worthless, and then it makes you kind of stop.
Yeah.
So there's like a threshold for that.
I think I know the answer to this, but your principal at ABT, did that change anything for you in terms of the nights where you look at the bad video and feel worthless? Or
no, it's actually, I feel like having the title of being a principal is the only thing that is sort of a reminder of like, oh, you might be better than you think. It sounds crazy, but because there are instances where I'm like, oh, I really like that. I like how I look here. But a lot of the time, I'm like, am I worthy of this? Like, I just feel.
Do you have imposter syndrome at all?
Like, probably. I think I do. I think I'm constantly trying to be a version of something that like I might not ever be. And it dawns on me every day that I go to rehearsal and I have a dream in mind, and then I again play back the video and I'm like, oh my God, it's like literally not even close. But I'm also like, can I really judge myself? Because I'm me and everybody's their own worst judge, and I'm looking at myself through my eyes and not through anyone else's eyes, and somehow other people seem to enjoy my dancing, and it's hard to believe it because I don't necessarily feel the same way about my dancing, but other people seem to. But is that just because they don't know any better? Like I really am. I'm like, maybe if they saw, one of my idols perform this part instead, they'd be like, oh yeah, she's really doesn't even hold a candle. Because that's how I feel. Like when I think about certain dancers, I'm like,
I got two good questions for you.
Yeah.
Who would one of those idols be?
Could be like Diana Vishneva. Like I'm constantly referring to her videos. Like I feel like everything she does, I really enjoy and appreciate.
Osipova fan?
Yeah, I enjoy her.
I could see you liking Vishneva.
Freedom. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like dancers of the past. I mean, even like Maximova or
Maximova, yeah.
Yeah.
My teacher was her partner for a very long time.
Oh my God.
He was sort of at the not beginning, but he was a young and successful dancer, and she was at the sort of toward the end, and they were paired together for quite a bit. And
wow.
So he always talked to me a lot about Maximova and like these really exalted
That's
language.
so cool.
And I've watched, of course, tons of her videos or
Yes.
that which exists. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I in general, I feel like the dancers of the past are like better than we are now in some ways, because I'm like they were so artistic and almost in what might have been considered like not super clean or a little bit sloppy.
Totally not super clean.
Not super clean actually maybe translates to more freedom. And at the end of the day, I feel like that's what our generation misses, is the freedom of dance. at least, or I can speak for myself. I'm concerned about obviously being artistic, but also like, are my lines good? Is my technique good? Like, am I doing all the right things? And that obviously can detract from your feelings of freedom on stage. And I feel like it's that whole inner child thing. Like when you lose, you're abandoned, then everything, it doesn't have the same effect. So
yeah.
But then again, I don't know. Maybe if I went back to my 8-year-old self, but with my knowledge now, maybe if I watched those same dancers, I might be like, oh, they don't carry the same impact. But I don't think so, because I go back to their videos and I'm still I'm like
and
watching Julio Boca's Bayadere, and I'm like, oh my God, it's
and
crazy.
Also, so many of them are astoundingly clean.
True. Anyway.
Julio Boca. Yeah. I mean, the whole Bershnikov, of course, is.
I mean, Angel Correa was like my favorite dancer.
That moment, Angel's Ethan,
Marcelo.
Marcelo. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm thinking Fernando Bojones. There's another dancer I've been watching. But if you go back far enough to like Godunov or Vladimir Vasilyev, that's where you get into the I don't want to say sloppier, but sloppier.
But less.
But it's not as turned in. The feet are not as pointed, or knees are bent, whatever. But they are doing these other amazing things, either artistically. Vladimir Vasilyev would do like 6 en dedans turns, which no one does en dedans turns
like
anymore.
maybe on a flat foot, but still there were 6 en dedans turns.
And so you see these other things where you're like, oh, that's gone. I was talking about this yesterday. Like Takumi is such a great turner, but like. I don't see him doing Basilio and then doing them all on the dawn, but they would do that was like one of the big moves then, and that has kind of gone away. So there's also these little things that you see now, that you go back and see where you're like, oh, that's actually really cool, and they were doing something that we've we've stopped doing.
True.
Anyway, I also feel I feel like it's always fun for me to meet like ballet nerd type. Like I feel that Jared is in your company also. Jared Curley is like such a ballet nerd.
Such a nerd, yes.
And I'm always learning from the videos that he posts, because he's always posting these throwbacks to like the 60s and the 70s, and it's these like wonderful male dancers and Fabrice and different people. And I'm always finding even like Peter Martin's clips. Like there's all these people from that 50 years at this point back that are amazing, and I forget sometimes to go back and revisit.
Yeah, it's so inspirational.
Yeah, it is,
and yet feels so unattainable. I'm like,
who do you watch now? I mean, who is a peer that you might maybe look up to?
I feel like everyone has something different to offer. So I like watching. I love to watch Devin Toysher in Swan Lake.
I saw her do that.
Yeah, like it
was lovely.
Yeah, she brings so much to the character that I can't even, I feel like, begin to scratch the surface of how she connects to the role. I'm like, okay, maybe the more I watch it, maybe watch her in this role, maybe I'll be able to take something from it. Or like Katherine Herlin, she's great in Don Q and Theme, and and Chloe, who's like new up and comer. Yeah, Chloe.
These are peers of your. All of these are in your company.
Yes.
So you're getting a lot from your.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because I see them every day. Especially when we start full run-throughs, I'm like, I get so excited to go and see how they're going to surprise me, how they're going to approach something differently. I mean, Hiseo, she's like so exquisite. I
Devin I really love. I saw her twice back to back a couple summers back do Romeo and Juliet and then in Swan Lake in I guess 1 week apart or something like that.
Everybody has a different quality. And it's great to see how people lean into those qualities that they have to amplify what they're producing. I feel like for me, a lot of times I'm like, I'm just so worried about what I'm not doing right that I can't even, I'm like trying to think of what my qualities would be. I'm not thinking about my strengths that much. I'm like, what are my strengths?
Would you say you're too hard on yourself, down on your negative about yourself, like your sort of self-image or how you hold yourself in esteem?
Yeah, definitely yes and no. Like I'm going to be more focused on the things that I can improve than like patting myself on the back a lot of times.
But you're okay with that balance?
I'm okay with that. I'm pretty, in general, like even just as a human, I'm very like logical and kind of pragmatic. So, and I'm not very emotional at all. Like I almost never cry. You know, things don't get me down. If I'm going to cry, it's going to be because something's so beautiful, but not because something's so upsetting or, you know.
I'm actually, I'm that way.
I'm kind of wired that way. So I think therefore, in my line of work, I'm going to focus more on the stuff that just needs to be fixed. Like I'm going to get stuff done as opposed to like waste any time on anything else.
I'm wired that way as well. It certainly leads me to rarely celebrating the achievements in any kind of meaningful big way, which a lot of people tell me like, hey, slow down and celebrate. And I'm always like, okay, if you say so, I will.
Right.
Let's do a somewhat rapid 10 questions.
Okay.
I'll ask the same 10 of every guest.
Okay.
Warm-up song.
Warm-up song. Oh my gosh. I recently, warm up. I don't really listen to anything.
Or maybe like going on
Subway
song or something like that. Or
I don't know. I think if I'm like commuting to work, then I'm going back and forth between Prokofiev's Cinderella.
Oh.
And I know, and a really like a throwback kind of oldie Boom Boom by the Vanga Boys. Like boom, 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 boom.
Oh, I want you in my room.
I don't know why. Yeah. It like came up recently and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good song. I need to put that on my iPod again.
So Boom Boom and Prokofiev.
Yeah.
Very good, Skylar. Post-show meal.
I'm not typically super hungry right after show anyway.
Okay.
I think adrenaline is high, and so it's hard to calm my system down. But I mean, I'm a big dessert freak, so like, and oftentimes family friends will bring me because they know that they'll bring me like home baked cookies or something. Like my friend Catherine Whiting, who you know, she makes these delicious like brown sugar chocolate chip cookies, and every time she brings them to me, first of all, I'm always like, Catherine, if you're listening to this, you never have to bring cookies to my shows. But when she does,
Catherine, it sounds like you do need to bring. Read between the lines,
like
Catherine.
all of them.
Yeah.
So I'll do that because I'm usually not about to like eat a big meal at 10:30 at night or something.
Okay.
11 o'clock.
Yeah. That's very disciplined and measured of you. I'm like 4 orders of 8 steamed dumplings stat.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I eat a whole box of cookies, but yes,
yeah. And a little shout out to Catherine, who's a very lovely, competent dancer too. Dream role. Maybe you've already done it, maybe not.
Actually, there's a role that's outstanding that I still haven't performed yet, which is Romeo and Juliet.
You haven't?
No, that's
everyone's. So I shouldn't react like that, but
that's everyone's reaction. I think, it's interesting. I mean, again,
I would really like to see you do that.
Thank you.
Personally.
That's kind of you. I would like to do that. It's interesting because years ago when it came around into the rep, because I'd been learning it for years, like I'm on the casting as more or less an understudy, and so I thought I'd get an opportunity eventually to perform it, once either somebody's pregnant or somebody retires or somebody's injured, like that's when you get your chances. And I remember a younger dancer was selected to do Juliet over me. And so I had a conversation with my director and I said, I realize that someone else has been put in the role ahead of me. And if you're just talking about like seniority and years waiting to do this, like why is this? And basically my director told me that they felt that this other younger dancer was, really suited to the role. And not that I wasn't, but that she was particularly suited, and her rawness and her realness and how natural she could be is what is required to play the role of Juliet, which is, and my director said to me, it's not that you can't also be natural and human and all these things. It's just that she really is these things. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that sucks. Like,
that doesn't feel good to hear.
Doesn't feel good to hear. And again, it's like a dancer's career is really short, so you just kind of hope that when you're biding your time, that eventually you get to, do these things and have the opportunity. And then, so I got basically skipped over that year for a couple years, and then came back in the rep. And again, there were too many principal females already doing it. So there was no spot open for me to now have a performance. And then one of the female dancers got injured. So I was like, oh my God, maybe this is my opportunity to do it. And then a different director said to me, granted, I would have only had maybe like a week's time to prepare it, but I'm very used to jumping into roles at the last second. That's how I got my entire start in my whole career. Yeah. I'm smart, I'm fast, I'm studious, I'll put in work to make sure that I can accomplish, weeks worth of work in a few days if need be. And she also, this director also was like, I just fear that like it takes a lot of thinking and you really need to like finesse. There's a lot of nuance and you need to finesse the story and I fear that's not enough time for you to go on stage, which I totally understood where my director was coming from because that is not a lot of time to put together a Shakespeare ballet. But again, in a way, it was like two different directors. Granted, the circumstances were different.
Yeah.
Who were basically telling me like, oh, well, you really need to. There needs to be like a human quality and natural quality. You need to be natural in it. And so, of course, I start saying to myself, well, am I not like there? I honestly usually trust what everybody else says because I don't have confidence in myself or to view myself in a certain way. So I'm going to rely on others to give me honest feedback. And so it's years later and I still want to do it. But now I'm like, man, I've heard from several people in leadership positions that like, you need to be natural. And I'm like, am I unnatural? Am I an unnatural performer? Yeah. Like it starts to plant things in your head.
Yeah. And you start to go on these loops.
Plant a seed and you start to go on these loops and you're just like, oh, wow, and then I'm like, well, when I do get to do it, I hope I do it right. And that's like not the way you should have to go into premiering any kind of role. Like you should want to feel like you belong there. And so I do aspire to do it. I think I will get to do it at some point. But I'm sure I'm in the back of my head, I'm going to be thinking to myself, like, am I believable? Are people liking it? And just because of the experiences with that role so far that have come before me.
Which only add to the stress of
absolutely,
of wanting to do it and waiting to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as a dancer and I've been in your audience before, I would personally love to see you do it.
Thanks.
So I hope someone makes it happen because I would buy a ticket. But would you really buy the ticket?
Yeah, right.
But I think we're technically in the middle of some questions. But but I also wanted to comment on what you're saying too, because one of the issues here is that you guys, on the grand scheme of things, don't dance a ton
at all.
Like this is the thing. I went out of town last year. I mean, I've lived in New York off and on, but basically I was living here or was here. I go away for 3 weeks.
And we're done with
that
our
was
season.
The whole fucking fall season.
Yeah.
And someone said, did you see ABT's fall season? And I was like, God damn it, when was it? And they're like, oh, it was the 1st to the 21st, and it's exactly when I was away. And I'm not complaining necessarily. I mean, I kind of am, but I live in London now, and the Royal Ballet is dancing basically every night of the week, it seems like. It's either the opera or it's them, or the odd touring production that comes through. And so whoever's in town visiting me or whatever night that I have free, it's pretty common that I can, look at the wall at the Opera House, next to where I work, and just see what's on. And maybe there's Balanchine 3 days later, it's the Nutcracker, and then there's some little solo thing, and they're just dancing. I mean, I don't want to make such a big deal about this, but they're dancing so fucking much. And their principals dance all the time. So like, but way far apart. Like I was working with Matthew Ball, and I was trying to see him do, I think it was Romeo. And he was like, yeah, man, come through. I'm dancing tonight, and then I'm dancing in 60 days from now. And it was like that. Yeah. Because there was 10 other principals and 3 other productions to do during that 60-day period.
Yeah.
And so I think when a company is big and funded like that and has an audience that can support that many productions, more principals can do more things.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to my friends at the Royal, and they're like, we're exhausted. And then, we say, well, at least you're on stage. I think there's got to be like a sweet spot, because I think in a way they feel like they work too much. Definitely ABT, we work too little. Like, I mean, everybody acknowledges it from staff to from dancers to staff. Everybody's like, oh yeah, we wish we had more performances for you all, and we're all like, we wish we had more performances, because doing one Swan Lake a year is really not a way to grow or feel comfortable or
as a principal, no.
enjoy yourself on stage. You're just like, I only have one Swan Lake, and like I need to do it well, or like see you next year,
And that's the thing. If I want to see Skylar Brandt do Swan Lake,
you got to be available on.
Yeah, you got to be here next Wednesday. It's like, fuck, so that. But, and I will say this in defense of the company, they can't create an audience that isn't there.
Absolutely. No, it's by demand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the economics of demand.
Yep.
And Royal, and I don't know what, and I would love that I basically more or less live in Europe now. But I don't know what they've done over there to make it different. But they seem to be able to fill that opera house night after night after night and charge a whole lot of money for it. I can only go when the company members slide me a ticket here and there. And I don't know why New York, which is an equal size and has plenty of money as well, like why with the same population we can't generate the same demand for ballet? I just don't know. I don't know what the difference is, to be honest.
No, I feel like our audiences, I don't know what it's like over at Royal, but like it's generally it's just a lot of elderly people.
Yeah, there too.
So
true.
I don't know, I don't know. I think in general, people in America, like they like sports. They like a winner and a loser, and they're not necessarily going to be as into like the arts. And, I think there's like a preconception that ballet's boring. And it is. It can be.
Can be.
And I think if you have your first exposure to ballet at your regional ballet school's Nutcracker performance that your niece or your cousin or your little sister is performing in, you probably are going to say, I'm never going to go see the ballet again.
Because as cute and fun as it is, no one blew your mind that night.
Right.
Yeah. Let's move. Only because I want to make sure I...
Yes.
That was dream roll. Okay. That was only 3 questions. Hobbies.
Hobbies. Right now I'm really into playing cards. I mean, I've always enjoyed it, but I got back into it.
You gamble?
I don't gamble, but I play this game called Double Solitaire, which is essentially just solitaire, but you play opposite another person. So
not solitary.
So not solitary. It's double solitaire.
Okay.
So, but it's kind of a game of speed. It gets really competitive because if I have like the ace of hearts and I put it up in the middle and the person across from me has the 2 of hearts, they can put theirs on top of mine. So you're essentially playing solitaire as you would, but you can feed off of each other's cards. And when 2 people have the same card, you want to put it up at the same time, and then it just becomes who's faster. So that's really fun.
You play poker at all?
I don't play. I'm
not personally sharp enough to play poker.
I played a kind of poker called Hong Kong poker that it's like when I'm playing it, I remember the rules, but I couldn't tell you any of the rules right now. I have to constantly be reminded of what the rules are, but I had a lot of fun in that. Otherwise, I just played tennis for like a week on vacation, which was great fun. I mean, aside from that, it's really like sleeping and eating.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Side question: favorite cuisine?
Oh, probably Italian. I'm like a huge fan of pasta.
Very good.
Yeah.
Me too. I make my own pasta too, which is...
That's impressed. That's delicious.
It's delicious. It's not an efficient use of time. Let's just say that. Non-ballet career, what would you be doing if you weren't dancing right now?
Well, if it really had nothing to do with ballet, like being a teacher or a coach or something like that, then I kind of feel like I'd want to be like a massage therapist. I have like super strong hands. So weirdly, fun side fact. So I feel like, and I know so well where I like to be massaged. Like I love massage that I feel like I'd be really good at massaging someone else because I would know exactly where to massage. And I'd have a lot of stamina for it.
You give him hand massages if
he doesn't like massage. I'm like, what lunatic doesn't like massage?
This guy.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the ballet world, what would it be?
Maybe the pay.
Yeah.
Probably, like, it would be so nice to be paid like other elite athletes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm
I would
like,
settle
give me
even for being paid just like other elite dancers in other countries,
Yeah,
But
well,
athletes for sure.
yeah, or just like, another basketball player or
Yeah, it would be
football
nice.
player. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you want to give a small, like a small, you can be neutral if you want overview, but I always see ABT posting these sort of AGMA union negotiation things, calls to action, asking people, ABT dancers asking for support from the general public. What is it? What's the gist of that situation there? What is it maybe that the dancers are looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so common across the companies in the U.S. It's like we're part of a union, so we have to fight for all of our own benefits. And of course, ballet companies here in the U.S., because they're not government funded like they are in Europe or elsewhere, their money is coming from private donorship or ticket revenue. And so it's really, we're at a huge disadvantage. So the ballet companies, they want to, because it's still a business, even though it's not for profit, it's still a business. They want to be stingy and they want to cut all kinds of corners. And, and dancers, we want to feel like we're being paid fairly or treated well or have certain benefits. So it's always a fight from both sides. I think New York City Ballet just went through something.
They did, yeah.
And they are also posting. And so, there's a lot of cross posting. Like,
is pay the basic thing that the dancers are looking for?
Pay is usually the basic thing. Yeah. Sometimes it's other stuff, but I think it's like cost of living goes up in New York quite a lot, and our salaries stay the same. And we could argue like, oh my God, but there's inflation. And then, the ballet company is like, we simply don't have any money, which tends to be true.
Yeah, that's always the hard part of these conversations is I'm always like, it's not like they have the money and they're not wanting to pay us.
Like, and we understand. I mean, everything's public.
Yeah, everything is public.
Everything's public. Yeah. So it's like, they're not lying about that. And, but we're also not necessarily going to give up on stuff. Yeah. And, it's all in the way that obviously the money is spent.
Yeah.
But if we don't advocate for ourselves and do it in such a way that could either be public, it's all about placing pressure on either side, to get what you want. It could be, well, we're going to strike, or that. Yeah. Honestly, those tend to be, unfortunately, the only ways that we can gain anything, because otherwise we're just showing up to work on expired contracts because we're dancing in good faith that the company will
and that's the thing is
take care of us.
Damn well, there's a line of people out that door. How many people email every day? Can I ABT? Can I come take class and audition? Like, you will be replaced.
Exactly.
We are so replaceable, and we are definitely at a power imbalance. And not for nothing, I'll get off of ABT just so as to keep this nice and pleasant and everything, but there are certainly companies with money who could afford to make changes and don't. I mean, it is interesting to see how the institutions spend money. I read, this is public, so I can say it, of course, but when Peter Martins left New York City Ballet, you're welcome to read about why he left, but he made another over $500,000 just in the few years that followed, not even being director, being out of it completely, and having left for not under the best of circumstances. And so when I read reports of numbers like that, I do kind of look at a number like that and think, maybe I don't know all the ins and outs, but I sure would have rather seen that money go to a dancer. I'm going to ask you a new question, and so we'll just go ahead and get off of this, which is, was there a person that inspired you to be a dancer that you looked at and you just said, that I want to be just like her? That is the thing that I want to do right there.
Yeah. I don't think there was one specific dancer. I do remember going and seeing Julie Kent. I think she was performing Flower Festival. And I remember watching her and being like, oh, it's so easy. Like, it just looked really simple and easy and like not that difficult.
Yeah.
And so I remember watching that performance and being like, I can do that.
I've had that moment.
Yeah.
And I had that with a boy I went to school with when I was like 13, and he could do all the contours. Zelig, very sweet guy. And I just said, oh yeah, I'll get a couple lessons and then I can do that. And once I can do that trick, that's all I want to do. And now it's 16 years later. Still not that great at Alice content. I've had to learn all this other stuff around it.
That's good.
Yeah, brutal. Was there a I made it moment for you? A moment where you went, oh my God, I'm living out this dream I once had, where it kind of hit you?
Yeah. Definitely the moment I got promoted to principal. Talk about being an unemotional person. Like, again, I don't cry at much, but the minute I got promoted, like the second I found out that I got promoted, I was like flooded with emotion. And it was really interesting time because I was getting ready to leave ABT. So I actually had like one foot out the door and my heart was 100% out the door. This was over the pandemic.
Wow. Oh, okay, sure.
So I was promoted in September 2020. And it came as a total shock because we weren't even working at that point. But at the time, I was like making all kinds of plans for my future, and it was not at ABT. So it was like, it wasn't even like my dream anymore because I kind of was like, oh, I'm going to move and join another company. So I kind of gave up on my ABT dream, and I was like, I'm going to be a principal somewhere else because that's what I want to be. And so the moment that I got promoted at ABT, it was like, whoa, I just accomplished my 8-year-old, childhood dream. So that was, then after that, talk about imposter syndrome. I'm like, am I really like good enough to be a principal? I don't know about that. But that was, that's a moment that really hit me.
Did they tell you in person? Or it's remote? Like
no, it was remote. It was remote. But the funny thing was it actually was leaked. Yeah, it was crazy. I was running an errand to Dwayne Reed. Like, again, we hadn't been in the studios for months. I was wearing gloves and a KN95 and whatever, and I'm, like, checking my email. And the press person at the time was like, hi, Skylar. So, as you know, promotions are being announced tomorrow at the all-staff, like, Zoom meeting, which I had stopped going to those Zoom meetings. I mean, first of all, what need was there to go to meetings anymore? We weren't on stage. I was kind of just like, write me an email when we're back on stage. Like, that was optional. It's not like I needed to go. But secondly, I hadn't been going to those Zoom meetings because in my mind, I was kind of leaving ABT. Sort of leaving, right. So, I wasn't going to be on that meeting. I would have missed my own promotion. And she was like, so let me know, what changes you want to have made to your bio. And so I emailed back and I was like, hey, sorry, am I getting promoted? Like, this is news to me. And then the person said like, oh, wait a second, Scott, like, let me check or something. And then the next thing I got was an email from my director's assistant being like, do you have a moment to get on a phone call? And I was just like, oh my God. Wow. So it was just an accidental.
What a sort of clumsy roll into the promotion.
Yeah, it was a real shock.
All right, we're going to have 2 very quick final questions because we're running up on your time. And yeah, I mean, gosh, I feel like I could do another hour and a half with you, to be honest. There's just so many things we haven't gotten to, but maybe we'll do another.
Yes.
Give me a pirouette tip, just one.
Ooh, something that I've been thinking about recently that's been really helping both the quality of the pirouette and like the quantity of the pirouette is how high my arms are, believe it or not. So I had a tendency to like raise my arms, I think, too high, which would make my shoulders go forward.
Okay.
And by just like kind of dropping them lower than what is comfortable. I mean, I'm recalibrating right now, but
cool.
It's nicer because my shoulders are now back. You can see more of me in my pirouette. Nice. And also it seems to help with like the compactness of my pirouette. So that's...
And you're quite a turner too. I mean...
Yeah, it's something that's I've always enjoyed doing. So I've put in a lot of hours, like trial and error doing it. Ever since I was a little kid. I've seen you in the damn
bedroom with the Marley on the ground. I'm impressed that you have the patience in that tiny room.
Yeah.
It's funny, you're going lower. I saw Marianella a few days ago and she was going high. She's quite high arms actually.
She
really
does. I've noticed that too. I think different strokes for different folks.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And then a magic dancer item. What's something that when you wear it to class, you just got a great class? If it's not your ripped tights, which everybody's social media is going crazy for now. People love it. Oh my God.
I love that so much. Mostly because I'm like, ripped tights are not a new thing, obviously.
No, they're not. And it is funny that this is the thing is taken off. I'm actually going to make you answer one thing, which is let's say the magic dancer item is what you wear on your feet.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Fake arches. Absolutely. For me, I don't have the most flexible feet. I've talked about before. It's like my bone structure. They don't bend that far. So I wear fake arches, which is basically like a padding for your foot. And it helps me, first of all, create a better line, but also gives me the confidence and peace of mind that while I'm working as hard as I can, there's something extra that's helping to complete the aesthetic of my line. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to have a day dancing without those on, because I just feel like if I didn't have my fake arches on, I'd be stressing about the way my feet look the whole time and not paying attention to anything else.
Which is not a fair thing, because it is genetic. I was born with good feet, and compliments about them mean nothing to me because didn't earn it. And it's also on the flip side of that, it's like, yeah, if you didn't get them, and if you have a simple way to help you with that line, why not?
Yeah, not dissimilar to wearing like false eyelashes or like a padded bra. I'm
wearing boots right now that give me an extra inch.
There you go.
If you can add a little something at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Skylar Brandt, this has been a pleasure. I just feel like I'm only scratching the surface with you. So, but I'm sure we've had an entertaining conversation for people. And congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you.
And being a principal.
Thanks.
And when you do Juliet, I'll be in the audience.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. My guest today, of course, is Skylar Brandt, principal dancer from American Ballet Theatre. I've been your host, Louis DeFelice. The episode is sponsored by Bar Trash. We recorded this at Theorist in Manhattan, New York. And the original music was provided by the songwriter Ellie McPhee, who writes real music outside of this, which you could check out anywhere online. Thank you. This has been Notes on Stage. See you next time.